grow to be with you, Jesus. We want to live our lives so close to you, God, that we take delight, that you take delight in our every prayer, Jesus. Thank you for the presence that's in this place right now. Thank you for us just being able to feel your love, God. We love you, and it's in your son's name we pray. Amen. Worship, guys, you are awesome. Thank you so much. You guys can take your seats. Before you take your seat, I guess you're seated, but give your neighbor a high five. And so, since I'm by myself, I'll give myself a little high five. Alright, here you go. Here's a hand. Alright, and so, but I'm so excited to be back here. Chapel again, school started up again. Did anyone have a good spring break? Anyone? Awesome. Mine started off a little shaky. I was sick my first 2 days. And then I ended up going to the doctor and I found out medical marijuana was legal. So it ended up being pretty lit at the end of it. And I didn't have to lose my salvation. Okay. I would never do that. I would never. Alright. But we have an incredible chapel planned out for you guys today. I can't wait to introduce our speaker. I have so many great things I can say about this guy. But before then, got a couple announcements for you guys. So why ones? Guess what we have tomorrow? Midterms. Woo! We have our epic midterm. I'm so excited. I hope you guys study up. I love to study. It's going to be amazing. And for anyone who gets a higher grade than me, I'll give you a little surprise. And it's kind of hard to do considering my school record. I'm usually one of the better students. So good luck on that, guys. And then CHC tradition. I can't even speak. CHC tradition is it's getting close to Easter, so we're gonna be on the lookout for a movie night. We're gonna watch The Passion of the Christ and just be able to take communion with each other. Yeah, Passion of the Christ. That's when I watched that. I was like 12 and I cried and I didn't even know what was happening, but it was cool. And so I'm excited. It's gonna be like a truly holy moment, and just for us to act as a family and take communion with each other. I'm so glad we get to do that. And then it's coming to the final stretch. We just got back from spring break. We only have a couple weeks left of school. We have Unique coming up. Easter, we have like 20-something services. It's going to be insane. The most we've ever had before, so I'm excited for that. And I just wanted to give you guys some encouragement before then. I have a couple of verses for you. It's in Isaiah 40, and it says, "Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." With all these things coming, finals, Easter, Unique, you're going to be emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally exhausted in this time. But don't worry, because remember, but those who hope in the Lord, they are the ones that will renew their strength. So I wanted to encourage you guys with that and to truly help and be expectant over these things. Don't just cruise by, because when you renew strength, you can give 100% the whole time. And so I want you to really be expectant and declare some things. Pray some big prayers. Like, dare to ask God to do some big things throughout Easter, throughout just this final weeks of school. And so that's all of our announcements. Now I get the privilege to introduce our speaker. The first time I met this guy, I moved here my first day in Alabama. We went to go play spike ball at Bayfront. So on the beach, it was fun, just getting to know everyone, still the new guy, having fun. And then there's an alligator in the water. And like, it's kind of like a baby one, but still, it's an alligator. And so I see someone jump into the water and tracking it. And so like all you see is like his eyes above the water. He's like trying to be a ninja, trying to get to this thing and literally capture it. And so once he goes for the kill, like the thing just runs away and gets scared. Like, "Matthew, you're back out there." He's gonna call his mom on you, and he did not care. He just stayed in there. So this guy, I said Matthew, but he's one of the most courageous people I know. He'll literally blow your mind. He's got so much knowledge. I can't wait to hear what God has really put on his heart for us today. So without further ado, let's all stand on our feet. Let's get crazy. Let's go stupid. Let's get wild and do it up for Matthew. We've done that before. I've put a horse on a truck before. That's a real thing. Don't make fun of my culture. Yeah, I didn't know nothing about that, did you? Didn't know nothing about that. Took you by surprise. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? You guys excited? You guys doing all right? Spring break's over. It's kind of cool, but my spring break was all right. I mean, it wasn't. I was thinking about it before we started. Like at the beginning, like back at Sunday, I walked out of the church and I'm like, all right, spring break started.
I don't know what to do. I've really got nothing planned. I've got nothing to do. And I was like, that's okay. I'll just sit back and be lazy. And not like the lazy, but like the healthy lazy. You understand what I'm saying? Are we vibing? Like, does that make sense? Jesus, y'all looking at me like I'm, like a healthy lazy. Like I'll start my day with nothing to do and I'll just find stuff to do. Okay? And I did. I found some stuff to do. The problem was, though, is that I wanted to make sure that as I was going through my spring break, I worked out. You know what I mean? I didn't want to go through the entire spring break and not exercise. So, look, sometimes things just don't go as planned, okay? Sometimes I had a flat tire on the way over here. Yeah, it kind of sucks. Things don't go as planned. So I didn't plan on when I went to the gym, it was like 6 a.m. I think it was Tuesday or whatever day it was. Just got my teeth fixed, got some brand new teeth, that's pretty cool. So I go to the gym, and I didn't plan on seeing an old crush of mine. Yes! So let me tell you, I actually don't, this is gonna sound really creepy, but I actually don't like know this girl, like personally. That's kind of the point of a crush, like you're crushing on her from a distance, When I started going, like the morning time gym routine, okay, you start recognizing certain people. My 6 a.m. people that I'd recognize at Planet Fitness that come every morning. There's Joe. He's an old man. He's an old guy, but he'll get there and he likes to do the curling machine. Really old man. Joe's pretty cool. And there's a couple more than I know, but this girl, like, we have an unspoken thing, okay? Because after about 3 times, we started to recognize each other. So I'm sitting on my machine, I'm doing some leg presses, and I look over, and she sees me, she looks back like that. And I knew in my mind, I'm like, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just me. I promise it was both of us. I don't know what kind of I don't know if this is just like a girl workout or something, but she would do these weird like leg things like this. She'd put the cable and she'd like do that motion right there. I'm telling you, she was trying to get my attention. So she's trying to get my attention. I'm thinking I gotta return the favor. I gotta try to get her attention now. So when I first started going to the gym, I was pretty comfortable with light weights. So I get on the bench press. First of all. I get my little 15-pound weight. Put on that side. Get my 15-pound weight. Put on that side. I don't care. It's 6 in the morning. I'm not trying to impress anybody. So I get down. And it's and I get up. I'm not trying to impress anybody. It's okay. But when she starts making these moves, okay, trying to get my attention, I feel compelled. And I'm like, I can do this, right? It's okay, I can do this. So, even though I felt the pain, it pained me, but I'm like, I can make this happen. I put 245s. So I was like, I can do better than that. I stack another on there. No, I'll keep going with it. I stack it up. And then I get down again. And I look, you gotta make sure she's watching. Otherwise it's pointless. And so I make sure she's watching me. And then I come up. That I can't say these. It's supposed to stop. It's a Smith machine, but it didn't stop it. And I feel it. I'm thinking I'm about to die. I'm about to die trying to impress a girl that I don't even know her name. Okay? She wasn't worth it. Jeez. And then I feel the weight lift up, and I think it's Joe or somebody coming to help me out. It's the girl. Hey, man, you okay? I'm fine, I'm good. I walk off. I'm not even sure I said that. I'm not even sure they were actual words I said. I'm pretty sure I just grunted and left. So needless to say, Tuesday, when I went to the gym, walked in, I saw her, I turned around and walked right back in. She didn't see me, so it was cool. My reputation remains intact. But there's unexpected things that happen. You got to be prepared for the unexpected. So we're going to jump in right now to a story that I'm going to kind of pick apart. Hopefully, we got to talk about the Bible sometime in this message here. So turn with me, if you would, to Exodus chapter 3. You know it. Ooh, Pastor Danny went, ooh, he knows what this is. All right. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest at Midian, and he led the flock to the back of the desert and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire in the midst of the bush. So he looked, and behold, the bush was burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. Then Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. So when the Lord saw that he turned aside to look, God called to him from the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. I'm trying to do the Prince of Egypt thing. That was the best version for me. Then Moses said, here I am. Then God said, do not draw near this place. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground. Now look, I want to give a little clarification here. Moses is probably one of my favorite characters in the Bible. And I know that sounds super cliche, but like I heard someone was talking and they compared Moses to Superman, and that immediately got my attention. Like when you compare someone to Superman, in my mind I ranked him top, because he was my childhood hero. They also compared him to Abraham Lincoln, which is pretty cool too. And I was like, okay, well, I started looking into Moses' life. Moses had a really cool life. And I started studying more about him, about how he was a Hebrew by birth and raised in the Israelites and slow of speech and yada, yada, yada. And this is as a kid, Sunday school stuff, I started to develop a lot of respect for Moses. What I didn't understand until I got to City of College was the dude had some issues. Dude had some real issues. He had speech issues. He couldn't talk clearly. He had anger issues. He straight up murdered somebody. It wasn't like the cartoon, okay, where he accidentally pushed him off a cliff or something. Like, the cartoon played it off like it wasn't an accident. Moses killed a guy. They didn't have guns back then either. You had to use like a rock or something. So, Moses was a interesting guy. And I started thinking about it, man. I started thinking about his insecurities he might have, fears he might have. Like, what happens when you take a person that you see as your hero and you deconstruct them and see their flaws and stuff? And their flaws, you start to learn more about what makes that person so great based on their flaws. And so that's why I find it so interesting. The very first thing that God says to Moses, very first thing, and we all know God's and Moses' relationship is like great. You know what I mean? Like God spoke to Moses like he's speaking to a friend. I'd say that's an okay relationship with God to have. Now, the first thing that God says when Moses approaches is bro, take off your shoes, man. Kick off your boots, man. Leave them suckers over there by the door. Take off your sandals, for the place you're standing is holy ground. And so this has been, you can look at this instance, you can look at this saying several different ways. It can be interpreted a lot. So maybe I'm overanalyzing this, maybe I'm over-spiritualizing this. And if that's the case, you're welcome, because it's still good. Hashtag humble brag, ain't that right, Christian? Boom. All right. Look, you're gonna have to bear with me, okay? I didn't plan very well for this. I'm just kind of riffing here. so I got to thinking, like, why would God say that? What's so interesting about the feet thing? And there's all kinds of you can study Hebrew culture, and the shoes at the door and stuff like that. But for some reason, when it clicked in my mind, what happens when you when I read about the shoes and footwear and stuff, the first thing that popped in my mind was armor of God. I don't know why I did, but it popped in my head. Take off your sandals of peace, yada, 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 yada. So I went back and I read, we know Ephesians 6. We know the armor of God. I don't have to read it again because you know it. I looked at that word, that Hebrew word for peace, because these are what the shoes are for, right? I'm looking at shoes. I'm looking at what's so important about the shoes, so important that God will make it the first thing he says to Moses. And the shoes, I start studying, are equated to peace in the Bible. Why are shoes equated to peace? It's a conundrum. It's a question. So why are shoes conflated to peace? I start studying what the word peace meant. And the Hebrew words are weird because you can have different types of meaning for what one word. Like there's love, but then there's also like this kind of love, this kind of love, this kind of love, this kind of love. And so it makes it a little bit more complex and more rich in its meaning. So when you study that word for peace that's there as referred to in the armor of God, when it talks about the peace you have when you take on the shoes of the, gospel or whatever they are, that word peace isn't like what we think about peace. And I don't know how you think about peace, but you can think of like hippie peace. You can think of it like calm peace, This kind of peace is a send-off peace, right? Say send-off peace. You guys, send-off peace. You get there? Okay. This peace is like a farewell peace, like a peace by aloha. Aloha means hello and goodbye. So that's what kind of peace we're talking about. It's like a send-off peace. God is saying, equip your feet with the sandals or the readiness of the gospel of God, and it's like a send-off. We tracking here? Yes? All right. Cool. Sorry, we started off real high energy. Now I'm getting into like some textual stuff. There's no way to make that sound fun. Anyways. All right. You good? You okay, Rob? No, but for real though. The peace in the shoes. Armor of God, all that kind of stuff. Where was I going? Wait a second. What day is it? Moses must have been carrying a lot of baggage. Where I'm going with this, that's where I'm getting. I promise I've got a point to go here. Moses would have been carrying a lot of flaws. He would have been carrying a lot of baggage. Some people even think that Moses would have been really bullied heavily, Being a Hebrew man, slow of speech, being trained in like this high-class Egyptian school, he would have carried a lot of defense, right? Now, how many of you guys have ever done the thing, I'm talking about the thing where you automatically go to protect yourself against somebody who's not even trying to hurt you? Has anyone, you know what I'm talking about? Like, is that a real thing? Okay. Because I do that all the time. Someone asks me a question, and I'll snap at something really smart because I think that they're questioning, like, you know what I mean? They're not trying to attack you. There's no need to defend yourself. But we will make these barriers, we'll make these like protective units to protect ourselves against things that we think are going to hurt us, and they're not really there to hurt us. Right? I think that what I'm getting at with this, I think that when God approached Moses, or Moses approached God, depending on how you look at it, I think that Moses was carrying some of that baggage with him. I think he was carrying some of that. And you even see that later on in their conversation. You see how God's got a mission for you. God had a plan for him to go do something. And then Moses is like, oh, I can't do it for this reason. God, says, okay, you can do it. No, I can't do it for this reason. No, you can do it. No, I can't do it for this reason again. God continues to break down all of Moses' little barriers that he's built up because of all the insecurities he has. You see, Moses had built up all these protective units to protect himself from the real mission that God had for him. So that's what I meant when I prefaced this thing by saying that it may be a little bit over-spiritualizing it, but what I'm getting at is that when we're talking about going, when we're talking about that goodbye peace, God's sending you out on a mission, and you go to walk, there might be thorns in your path. There might be hard, sharp rocks to step on. There might be things that hurt your proverbial feet. When God tells you to go into ministry, you might say, I can't go to ministry because I can't speak properly. When God tells you to get into graphic design, you could say, I can't do it because I don't have a very good background with tech, or I've never been good with computers. Or even better yet, I'm using better yet, but think about it this way. God has sent you into this place you don't want to go because you think it's a lower position than what you should rightfully have. You could say, oh, I can't go there because I'm made for this. I'm made for better stuff. I can't get a job just as, a desk clerk or assistant because I'm supposed to be a youth pastor at Hillsong United. I'm certain God's calling me to be the next Malva's campus pastor. Okay, God, I am not made for that. And we even see in that pride, we see in that we're protecting ourselves from an insecurity that we've built up. By God saying, take off your sandals, I think a way you could look at this story is God's telling Moses, before the conversation even begins, before they start going through the back and forth banter that they go into, before they go into all that, and God starts wearing on, or Moses starts wearing on God's nerves, before that even happens, God tells them to cut it out. God tells them to take off your sandals, take off these, protective layers that you've got. because I'm about to send you. I'm going to send you, and you're going to have to go. That kind of makes sense? Yeah. I feel like I may have delivered this, a little kind of weird. But when I realized this, I'm going to tell you how I realized this. When I realized this, it kind of hit me hard. I spend a lot of time out in the woods. I like to go out in the woods. I'm a weird dude. I'll go hiking. I'll go walking. Something I had to learn how to do is called orientation. Have you ever heard of that? It's kind of like what you do pretty much is when you go back to the map, pretty much. It's when you've been walking long enough, you have to kind of stop and say, okay, I'm lost. Now I got to find my way back. When you orient yourself, there's a process to it. And the first process is to kind of stop, stand still, look at your map. Then it's to kind of figure out where you're supposed to be going and head off into that direction. During this path, during this time, or during this mission that God's going to send you on in your life, and all of us have a mission. That's why we're here. That's why we're here in this room right now. During this mission that God's going to send you off, there are going to be times where you get hit with stuff when you step on a thorn or step on a nail. I've done that. It hurts. And you're going to think it's out of the blue. And it's going to knock you off your path. It's going to hit you out of nowhere. You're going to stand around and you're going to be hit. It's like, oh man, I'm lost. I don't know where I'm at. I'll tell you, speaking of getting lost, where's Kinsey at? There she is, right there. Kinsey was my partner for Challenge Day. Okay? And y'all heard this story 1,000 times. But apparently Pastor Danny thought it was hilarious and funny. For the last people, if you're the last in line for the kayaks, you don't get a kayak. You get like a tiny kayak. All right? And this tiny kayak was entirely too small for myself. I couldn't get in the kayak. So I had to tie a rope around myself and swim across the river or whatever. And it was horrible. And in the middle of that, I'm like, oh man, I looked around and I was like, I know we're supposed to be going right there to that side of the creek. There was a time in the middle of that, where we're swimming, where I looked, I was like, I have absolutely no idea where we're swimming, which direction I'm going. For all I know, I could be swimming right back to the point where I left. When God sends you and God tells you to go somewhere, He knows that there's going to be bumps in the road. He knows that there's going to be flat tires. He knows that there's going to be divorces. He knows everything before He even tells you to go. Before Moses gets into the conversation about talking about all his insecurities and fears, God addresses it before it even happens. Because when He tells you to go and He perceives all these things that are going to happen, He knows that when you're working with Him and you're partnering with Him, that it's going to be things that make you stronger. All of it's going to be things that make you stronger. We can't keep trying to protect ourselves from the things that make us stronger. We can't keep trying to protect ourselves from the weights that we lift weights to build muscle. Don't be surprised when God gives you spiritual weights on your bar. When God puts more on your shoulders. We can't be surprised when painful things happen. We can't be surprised when something happens and then we find ourselves in the middle of our spiritual walk all of a sudden and we feel like, I'm lost, I don't know where I'm at. Why would this happen to me, God? It's not supposed to be like this, God. I'm not supposed to, we'll start, you know what I mean? We can't get distracted or sidetracked from our mission and from our original goal. We've got to take off whatever garments, whatever pride, whatever insecurity. We've got to take off whatever thing we're using to keep God's mission and God's purpose for our lives at bay and embrace whatever happens to us. Embrace the pain. Embrace the unexpected. Embrace the flat tires. Embrace the embarrassing gym situations. Embrace it and make it your own and grow and learn from it. I got a process here. I kind of went over this briefly, but this is the 3-step process for orientation. This is the 3-step process for spiritual orientation. And before I go into this, I want to tell you when you might need to be spiritually oriented. When you might need to be spiritually oriented is when you have a bomb dropped on you. Raise your hand if you've ever had a bomb dropped on you, like legit, like just a heavy smash, right? I'm going to go back to Challenge Day because that day was really fun, and it's probably one of my favorite days ever. But it was also the day I got back to the thingy, what was it, like a condo or something? Yeah? Okay, it was a condo. I get back to the condo, and I get a phone call, and, oh, geez, guys, it was a bad phone call. It was a bomb. A bomb had just been dropped. And in that moment, I remember feelings like I wasn't even really like sad or anything. I was just lost. It's like, what do you do now? How do you react to this? The times where you need to remember to stop and spiritually orient yourself are the times when you get hit by those bombs and you have that feeling, oh my God, I'm lost. Where is my calling? Who am I? Do we really exist? It's those kinds of moments. So the first thing you have to do is stop. Stop yourself. Don't try to go any farther if you're not showing your direction. What I mean by that is a situation you could use this is if you get a job offer right after you've gone through like a painful divorce or something like that, and you're praying about it and you don't know if this is the job that God's got called for you, don't know if this is the path to go, don't take that path necessarily if you know that bomb has just been dropped. If you know that you've just been hurt or spiritually wounded, don't try to make these big decisions until you've got clarification for God. Just stop yourself and calm yourself down. The second thing you have to do is find yourself. This is that moment where you pull out, Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever you use. You find your location, you find out where you're supposed to be. These are my moments where I go back to my journal, right? How many of you guys journal? A few of you guys? Journaling is a really good way to keep track of your progress. And when I have those moments where I feel lost and I can't remember where I'm at or what I'm supposed to be doing, I go back and refer to my journal. And the last thing you do is adjust yourself. And the adjustment is probably the most important part of this whole process, because the adjusting part is where you get settled back in the right direction. But the adjustment part is also the least comfortable part. When you realize you need an adjustment is the moments where your insecurities are pointed out to you. Or where insecurities, where your flaws are pointed out to you. Because no one likes to be told, hey, you're going in the wrong direction. No one likes to be told, hey, that's not the right thing to do, that's not the right way to go, you probably handled that situation badly. And adjustment always equates to uncomfortability. And a lot of us, we don't like that. We kind of keep it off at a stick. We kind of keep it back. We need to be able to embrace the adjustment. We need to be able to embrace the change. Right? Kind of? All right. Avocado. Avocado? Justin? There it is. We had a code word. Look, my presenting of this probably wasn't the best because I had a little bomb drop before we got over here, but that's okay. That's what I want you to understand is that bad things are going to happen. They're going to happen. It's not an if, it's not a maybe. When I got my motorcycle, my uncle's he's like an actual biker. And he told me, he's like, Matthew, it's not if you crash, it's when you crash. It's gonna happen eventually. You gotta be prepared for it. God called everyone in this room. Well, we know that. We know God called us. We know God has a mission and a purpose for us. God would not have called you to somewhere He is not equipping you to be prepared for. When these moments happen, financial things, family things, personal things, relationships, when the bomb drops and you're hit off guard, when you step on a thorn and it shakes you and makes you wonder where you're at or wonder what your calling is, don't freak out. God knew it was there. You don't have to try to protect yourself from God's calling that He's put in your life. And I guess in the end, what it boils down to is your relationship with Him and how personal and how much you trust Him. Sometimes I have to go back and remind myself that God's the best friend I could ever have. Sometimes I have to remind myself I got to go back and talk to God. You can't have a friend you don't talk to. You can't have a friend you don't trust in. As this song continues on, guys, I want us to take a minute. And that's the first step of the whole 3-piece orientation process, is to stop. Take a minute and ask yourself, how much do I trust God with my pain? How much do I trust God with my flaws? How much do I trust God with my path and with my calling? If anybody remembers my first message earlier in the year, the whole thing was about waiting. Because humans, we're a lot like sheep. Called sheep in the Bible a lot. Sheep get freaked out by anything. Sheep have a tendency to freak out and run off. That's why God's always got to go after them and bring them back. My first message earlier this year was about waiting. Don't get lost in the waiting. Embrace the waiting. That's when you grow. And here what I'm saying is don't get lost in the pain. Embrace the pain and grow. Embrace the soreness and grow. Because the person that God's making you into is worth it. The person that God's turning you into is worth it. And it's worth the waiting. I see a room full of leaders here. A room full of good people. I love you guys.
Remember those three things. Stop, find yourself, then adjust. I love how it makes God's sovereignty so apparent. How many times have we been in life like, oh my gosh, like this bomb that just got dropped on me, like, I want to run away from this. I don't want to go through it. I'd rather do anything else but go through it. And I guarantee every single one of us in this room, we've been through a situation like that, and because we've gone through it, it's made us stronger. God's molding us to who He wants us to be, for who He wants us to lead, for who He wants us to bring to Him, and just how we can love others better. And so that was an incredible teaching, Matthew. It's an honor to be your roommate, to be your guardian angel, sleeping above you on the bunk bed. I love you, man. Thank you so much. So that's the end of chapel today, guys. And then be here at 12:50. We have Pastor Danny, Ministry Disciplines. It's going to be amazing. You guys are dismissed.